Howdy, folks. As we come closer to our midterm this coming weekend, I thought we would have a couple very specific little sessions that won't matter at all to your answers on the midterm. And I think these are important. As we talked about in the last session about talking, I included the whole gamut of speaking good interpersonal communications. I wanted to become a little more specific on that today, and that is on the power of words. Words are the notes we use to create the music of our messages. And the words can help, words can hurt, words can strengthen, words can weaken, words can empower, words can diminish, words can add to our credibility, as well as diminish our credibility. They are important. Have you ever heard a boss or speaker or teacher or minister misuse a word or mispronounce a word? And you thought, well, wait a minute, that's not right. Or am I wrong with that? And you're wondering about the words they're using instead of listening to the messages. So in order to play the right notes, if you will, to create the right kinds of music, your messages, particularly in one-on-one communication or in small group communication, you have to be a master of language. You have to be a master of words. So we're going to talk a little bit today about some of the words to avoid, to correct, and to use. As you know, my name is Tom Kubistant. Kubistant is the only name like that in the country. So I take pride in that. Knowing that Kubistant is such a unique name, it is butchered in its pronunciation so much that I've become used to it. My point is, what is the sweetest sound to your brain? The sweetest sound to your brain is hearing your own name. So learn people's names, learn the correct pronunciations of their names. One way to help on that is to ask people about their names. What's the derivation of that name? How did it come to be? How did your first name come to be? Do you go by nicknames? People like talking about their names. And as they start talking about their names, they start developing a connection with you because you have an interest in their names, the derivation of their names, and the correct pronunciation of their names. That's why remembering people's names is so important. Many people admit, I can't remember names. They've just set up a barrier. Yes, you can if you allow yourself to. If you're in front of similar teammates or customers or clients, put yourself with the quota of remembering one person's name a day. That's 5 a week. That's 20 a month. And you'll be amazed how this keeps on accelerating. And then use people's names. The sweetest sound to a person's brain is their sound of their own names. In 2018, Reader's Digest online had a nice little short article about words and phrases you're probably using all wrong. And I admit I was a victim. I was a perpetrator of some of these wrong ones too. I want to share with you some of these. It is not for all intentions and purposes, but the phrase is for all intents and purposes. It is not butt naked. No, it is buck naked. It is not etc. With apologies to the king and I. It is etc. One mistake I ever made, because I couldn't afford one, is I always said it was a safety deposit box. No, it is a safe deposit box. Here's something I hear a lot with people attempting to be too advanced in their speaking and pronouncing. And they use the word irregardless. That is a contradiction. It is simply regardless. Similarly with inflammable, it is just flammable. When I wrote the first book, Performing Your Best, I used the word insure, INSURE. And thank goodness to one of my editors came back and said, no, it's not insure. That has to do with insurance and policies. But the word is ensure, ENSURE. Some words that I learned. And once I corrected those, I was more confident and a lot more, I received a lot more clearly. Reader's Digest Online also in May of this year, 2021, they said, don't start a sentence with any of these 10 phrases, and you'll see why. To be honest, what's the implication there? You haven't been honest in the past. Next one, no offense, but the person has their defenses up, has their hackles up, knowing that they are going to be offended. Next one is, well, actually, it sounds like I'm giving you a demeaning lesson. I'm giving you a lecture. How about this one? This may sound stupid. Yes, it does if you cite it up that way. How about, I'm not racist, but we've all known that's a precursor to indirectly admitting you are. I think, follow that with I believe. It has a lot more impact. I know just how you feel. No, you don't. And so don't diminish the receiver's perceptions and perspectives and feelings. As I've previously stated, you probably just haven't been listening to me, so I have to repeat it again. So those are the most common phrases. Here are, from March of 2019, also in Reader's Digest Online, redundant phrases, phrases that have one or two words that are repetitive of it, that are not needed. How about the phrase forever and ever? Just use the word forever. It is a lot more clear and a lot more powerful. How about new innovations? Of course, all innovations are new. Just use the word innovations. This is blatantly obvious. Well, of course, anything that is obvious is blatant. So just use the word obvious. How about, I just read a fiction novel. All novels are fiction. How about a passing fad? Most fads are temporary, so just call it a fad. How about safe haven? Well, of course, all havens are safe. Just use the word haven. It elicits so much more vivid imagery. How about advanced warning? Well, of course, all warnings are said in advance. Just use the word warning. Unexpected surprise. Of course, all surprises are unexpected. Just use the word surprise. Sudden impulse. Of course, there's all impulses are sudden and immediate. Just use the word impulse. And then at the end is end result. Of course, all results come at the end. Just say the word result, the end. If you are on Western Nevada campus at all, I have a really neat handout on both sides of the most commonly mispronounced words. What I will do is, if you are on campus at all, my mailbox is always in the Reynolds building. As you enter the main entrance of Reynolds building and go to the cross hall, take a sharp turn to the left and you will see my mailbox, and the mailbox next to mine is listed COM 215. And I will have, if you're on campus, a whole list of these most commonly mispronounced words, ranging from mispronouncing the accent, the additions of sounds to it, the omission of sounds, the sound substitutes. All the correct pronunciations are in the parentheses. I will leave that for you. Just last week, I'm recording this early November 2021 on CNBC Online. Kathy and Ross Patras said, avoid these words and phrases that make you look weak, either in speaking or in writing. Here's one I do all the time in my lectures. Does this make sense? I say that on purpose to use as a pause in my lectures to opening up some discussions. They say it is a weakening phrase. Instead, they say, use the phrases, what are your thoughts? Or I'd like to have your input or feedback on that. Nice difference. How about maybe we should try? Sounds very weak and setting yourself up for failure. Instead, say, let's do, or it's a good idea to. How about this one? I've had a lot of students in my classes and discussions say this. I'm not positive, or I'm not sure, but instead of saying with that, start saying whatever you were going to say after the word, but. I just want to touch base. The word just, they say, is a softener, almost an apology. Instead of saying, I just wanted to touch base, say, I wanted to touch base. It has a whole different feel to it, doesn't it? How about the phrase, needless to say? Yeah, if it's needless, don't say it. Or in my opinion, don't say that. Or for what it's worth, which is nothing. So eliminate that opening. Here's one that people say, sorry. Instead of using the word sorry when you're apologizing, use the words, excuse me. Comes across a lot more properly, a lot more formally, a lot more impactfully. And finally, with apologies to Neil Diamond, which was one of the phrases of one of his most popular songs, if you know what I mean. No, I don't know what you mean. As you found out from the last video, I love talking about words. And I came up with a list of what I called extreme words that you should rarely use in your speaking to people as well as writing. How about the words always and never? Those of you who have ever learned how to take a multiple choice test know that whenever an answer is always or never, it's not the right answer. How about the phrase all or nothing, or my way or the highway? It's way too bullying of a way to express everything. Everything, everyone, nobody is, again, being too general, too dogmatic. How about terrible and awful? Those words connote a high sense of drama. How about this one? I've told you 1,000 times. No, you haven't. Excuse me. How about impossible or dreadful? Nothing is impossible. Nothing is truly dreadful unless you allow it to. Along with stupid or ugly, you make bad decisions. That doesn't make you a stupid person. Okay. How about what many millennials say as a dismissive phrase? Whatever. So these are what I called some extreme words. When I taught the old public speaking course for 2 decades, I kept on coming up with a list of words that distinguish the effective communicator from the ineffective communicator. Here are some of them. Firstly, the proper uses of the 2 words farther versus further. Now, some people in Europe interchange those. But here in North America, farther always means some kind of distance, whereas further means an extension of a line of thought or line of conversation, such as furthermore. You don't say farthermore. When you're on our campus, you'll say the Reynolds building where Kubistant teaches is 2 buildings north of Bristlecone. It's not further. Here's another one. Excuse me. The differences between affect and effect. Affect has two meanings to it. Affect is meaning emotions or the process of making an impact, whereas effect are the results of what affected it. A lot of times we have a very weak way of responding to somebody that we don't want to do something, and that is saying, I can't do that. That's a very weak way. Instead of saying, I can't, say, no, I won't do that, nor I don't do that. That is a lot more active way of owning your feelings and your positions. How about the very specific ways of using adverbs, correct or proper? Did something sound missing there? Always put an ly on the end of adverbs. So use those correctly, use those fully, use those properly. Here's something that is a code word for people in either law or medicine or the helping professions that distinguish a person who is a true knowledgeable professional in that from an outsider. And the outsiders will use the word empathetic instead of what the insiders use is the word empathic. Doesn't make sense because you think sympathy, you think sympathetic. You think empathy, putting yourself in their shoes. You think empathetic. No, the people in the helping professions know that a person who uses that word empathetic, even though it's in the dictionary, they are not truly knowledgeable and are an outsider. Learn to use the word empathic. It comes across entirely different. I think the weakest word in English, which is a catch-all word in English, is the word got or get or gotta or gotten. That are lazy ways of approaching English. If you eliminate those words, get, got, going, gotta go, getting, you may have to replace it with one or two other words and you come across so much more clearly and precisely. Eliminate derivations of the word got. Finally, at the end of conversations, remember how you end a conversation, end a meeting, end a document that you're writing, is the first thing people will remember about the whole piece and you. So never end a conversation with no problem. That's almost dismissive. If they say thank you, say you are welcome, or I'm pleased to help you, or thank you. It has a whole different feeling to those. One final category of misuses and uses of that is what Albert Ellis, who was the founding father, he was a psychologist, the founding father of a theory and practice of psychology called RET, Rational Emotive Therapy. He was a nice, skinny, frail man who wasn't much of a speaker and was very powerful in his writings. And he had what he called his weak words: should, could, must, gotta, oughta. Those 5 phrases, should, could, must, got, and got, oughta, are what he called masturbating. So many people spend time masturbating what should be this way, what ought to be fair, what you got to do right now, what is ought to be correct, what you must do right now. Instead, those things, those words reflect an expectation mentality. It should be perfect. It ought to be more fair than this. It must be easier than this. Is setting the standard of an expectation mentality. People who expect things to happen or to unfold in a precise way are setting themselves up for disappointment. Instead of using expectation words, should, could, must, got to, ought to, use words that reinforce what you are accepting. The alternative to expecting is accepting. I'm doing the best I can right now. I'm on my side. I'm in the here and now. Learn how to accept what you're doing, who you are, as opposed to expecting something to unfold in a very specific way. Learn how to become wordsmiths. Many writers of fiction view themselves as wordsmiths. The same word can be used in your spoken word. Learn how to take pride in using powerful, correct words so that you start viewing yourself as a wordsmith. Your words individually and then collectively will come across in so much more of a powerful and impactful way. They will enhance the communication, enhance the relationship, and enhance your credibility. Thank you.